In the heart of Italy in Viterbo on 13th of November 1668, a boy destined for holiness was born, Pietro Fioretti, the future Saint Crispin of Viterbo. From the very beginning, his life would be marked by simplicity and a profound love for God. The son of humble parents, Pietro grew up in an atmosphere of faith and work. His father was a shoemaker, and from an early age he learned the value of honest toil. This upbringing would shape his personality, simple, charitable, and obedient. Even as a child, Pietro showed striking piety. He liked to pray, help the poor, and attend Mass. His devotion touched the hearts of those who knew him, and many already saw him as a little saint in formation. At 5 years old, he lost his father, which brought hardship to the family. Even so, his mother raised him in the faith with firmness and tenderness, encouraging her son always to trust in divine providence. Pietro began working very early to help at home. He became a shoemaker's apprentice, following in his father's footsteps. During his work, he took the opportunity to speak about God and encourage his companions to live virtuous lives. Even amid hammers and leather, his mind was fixed on heaven. Work did not pull him away from prayer. On the contrary, he turned his routine into continuous praise of God. At 25, Pietro felt a strong call to religious life. His soul longed to surrender itself more completely to the Lord. After discernment and prayer, he decided to enter the Order of Friars Minor Capuchin. In 1693, he was accepted into the Capuchin Convent, taking the name Brother Crispin in honor of the patron saints of shoemakers. From then on, he dedicated himself fervently to religious life. Brother Crispin was never ordained a priest. He was a lay brother, which meant he devoted himself to the simple tasks of the convent, begging alms, caring for the sick, cleaning, cooking. And he did everything with heroic love. He used to say, "Whoever serves the poor serves Jesus." With this conviction, he walked from house to house, asking alms for the convent and sharing what he received with those in need. He became known and loved throughout the region. His face radiated peace, and his presence brought consolation. He was called the Apostle of Charity. Even as a simple almoner, Brother Crispin gave spiritual counsel to people of every class, including bishops and nobles, who listened attentively. He spoke with wisdom that came from above. His prophetic gift also drew attention. On various occasions, he foretold future events, always with humility and discretion, never seeking personal glory. The discipline of religious life was not burdensome to him. He lived it as liberation. Fasts, penances, and prayers were for him a source of joy, for they united him more intensely to Christ. He was a passionate devotee of the Most Holy Virgin Mary, whom he affectionately called Mommy of Heaven. He always encouraged everyone to pray the rosary. He also had great devotion to the child Jesus. He used to say that God became small so that no one would be afraid to draw near to him. Brother Crispin was constantly seen with a smile on his face, even in the greatest difficulties. That smile was a sign of a soul fully united to God. One memorable episode of his early religious life occurred when, after being criticized for being merely an almoner brother, he replied, "Being a brother of Jesus Christ is more than enough for me." He was obedient to his superiors and profoundly humble. He never exalted himself and fled from praise, attributing every virtue to God. Evangelical poverty was his joy. Even having little, he felt like the richest man in the world, for he said he possessed the presence of God in his soul. Once, a nobleman offered him a large sum of money, but Brother Crispin refused, saying, "God takes care of the convent better than any coin." His life was a constant preaching, even without words. The silent witness of his charity converted hardened hearts. He was also profoundly joyful. He said that sadness does not suit a Christian, for whoever has Jesus is never alone. Even when people mocked him, Brother Crispin answered with gentleness. He bore no grudges and always prayed for those who insulted him. On his journeys through towns and villages, he left traces of faith, hope, and love. He was like a walking saint of divine charity. This first phase of Saint Crispin of Viterbo's life shows how God uses the humble to accomplish great works. His example is an invitation to holiness in the simplicity of everyday life. Brother Crispin was a true missionary of mercy. Although he did not travel long distances like a classic missionary, his mission unfolded in people's hearts, in the streets, in the homes, in the squares, and in the souls he met. His principal mission was to be an almoner, which for him was not merely a function but a divine calling. Through this role he evangelized without needing grand discourses. With a bag slung over his shoulder, Brother Crispin walked long roads seeking food for the convent. Yet it was not uncommon for him to give everything he had received to the poor before returning to the monastery. He was moved by supernatural charity. For him, Christ was present in every needy person. Like St. Francis, Brother Crispin saw in the face of the poor the face of the crucified Christ. People smiled as soon as they saw him. There was something heavenly in his countenance, and his presence brought comfort, as if God visibly accompanied him. Many witnesses reported physical and spiritual healings attributed to his intercession even during his lifetime. But he always said, "God healed, I am only his little donkey." Brother Crispin had the gift of bilocation. There are accounts of people who saw him in two places at once, especially when some sick person needed his prayer or help. He also had the gift of reading hearts. Many times he told people what they held in secret, guiding them with gentle and wise words, always leading them to confession and conversion. His fame for holiness began to spread throughout Italy. Even so, Brother Crispin never boasted of it. He continued sweeping the convent, helping in the kitchen, and carrying buckets of water like the simplest of servants. During wars and crises that plagued the region, he was a pillar for the despairing. He consoled, encouraged, and always pointed to heaven as the only true hope. Community life was likewise a field of apostolate. In the convent, Brother Crispin was an example of humility, silence, obedience, and joy, even when tasks demanded sacrifice. His confreres reported that he spent long hours before the tabernacle. There, he nourished his soul and prayed for all whom he met each day. The Eucharist was his daily sustenance. Brother Crispin made a point of confessing frequently. He said that a clean soul is the garden where God most loves to stroll. He encouraged everyone to seek the grace of confession often. At the great liturgical feasts, his emotion was visible. He shed tears of joy at the Christmas Mass, and especially during the Paschal Triduum. His heart thrilled with the mysteries of redemption. He also had a special love for the souls in purgatory. He offered fasts, sacrifices, and prayers for them. He said that true charity does not forget those who have already departed. Although he had no formal education, his counsel possessed great theological depth. This is explained by his life of continual prayer and intimacy with God, which granted him supernatural wisdom. Once, a theologian wished to challenge him with a difficult question about the Trinity. Brother Crispin smiled and answered with enchanting simplicity, leaving the scholar impressed by his clarity. His spirituality was deeply Franciscan, radical humility, absolute trust in providence, and ardent love for the cross. He often repeated, "Whoever loves, suffers. Whoever suffers for love, rejoices." Even when sick, he did not cease to perform his duties. He offered his pains in silence, uniting himself to Christ crucified. His patience in suffering was edifying. He received kindly all who sought him. He never refused a request for help, even when tired. He was like a candle that consumes itself to give light to others. A curious fact is that he had great affection for animals. He knew, as Saint Francis said, that all creatures praise the Creator. Therefore he spoke tenderly even to little birds. He also possessed a prodigious memory for recalling names and prayer intentions. When someone asked for his prayers, he truly prayed fervently for that soul. On one occasion, an atheist peasant publicly insulted him. Brother Crispin, undisturbed, embraced him and said, "God loves you more than you imagine." Not long after, that man converted. Despite his fame, Brother Crispin never sought positions or honors. His only desire was to love and serve God until the end of his life. In this second stage of his life, we see a silent and effective missionary, a true apostle of peace and charity. His simple life, marked by extraordinary gifts, continues to inspire everyone. As the years passed, Brother Crispin of Viterbo became still more beloved among the friars and the people. His health, however, slowly declined, though his soul never lost its spiritual vigor. Even in old age, he insisted on continuing his tasks in the convent. He wanted neither privileges nor special rest. He said with a smile, "As long as I can carry a broom, I am still useful to the Lord." Physical pains became more frequent, especially in his bones and joints. He accepted these limitations as an opportunity for deeper union with Christ's sufferings. No complaint was ever heard from him. On the contrary, he said that each pain was like a kiss from the cross and thanked God for the chance to offer sacrifices for souls. In his final years, he reduced his walks, but not his fervor. When he could no longer go out to beg alms, he received visitors at the convent with the same gentleness and attention as always. People from all over Italy came to seek his counsel, blessings and prayers. Some came merely to see him and sit in silence by his side, for they felt they were before a living saint. Though he held no important positions in the order, he was constantly consulted by superiors, bishops, and priests. His simple, devout wisdom was considered divine light in difficult moments. He never kept riches. His cell was simple, with a bed, a crucifix, an image of Our Lady, and few objects. There he spent hours in prayer and contemplation. The rosary never left his hands. Even with weak fingers, he continued to pray it fervently, asking the Mother of God's intercession for all those he had met in life. During his last months, his health worsened. The convent's physicians attempted treatments, but Brother Crispin already knew that his time in this world was drawing to an end. He received the news with joy. He told the friars, "Now I will be able to see my Jesus face to face and thank him for having loved me so much." It was the serenity of one who had lived in constant preparation for eternity. During his agony, he asked to be placed before the crucifix. He wished to depart with his eyes fixed on the one he had loved and served all his life. In his final weeks, he could scarcely speak, but his eyes shone with peace. When a brother approached, he squeezed his hand and murmured, "Persevere, my son." It is worth serving God. On 19th May 1750, Brother Crispin surrendered his soul to God at 82 years of age. His face remained serene, as though he were merely asleep. Many witnessed an inexplicable fragrance that filled the room. News of his death spread quickly throughout the region. Crowds flocked to the convent to pay homage to the people's saint. It was as though the whole of Viterbo wept, yet with faith and hope in heavenly glory. During the wake, numerous reports of cures began to surface. Sick children were taken to his tomb and recovered inexplicably. The friars carefully recorded the testimonies. His burial was attended by thousands of faithful. Men, women, children, rich and poor, all wanted to bid farewell to the brother who had been like a light in their lives. Even after his death, Brother Crispin continued his mission of consoling the afflicted and helping those in need. Many said they felt his presence in moments of prayer or pain. His fame for sanctity grew over time. Brother Crispin's relics came to be venerated with great respect. His tomb became a place of pilgrimage and popular devotion. The Capuchin order began gathering documents and testimonies about his life, heroic virtues, and the miracles attributed to his intercession. It was the beginning of the canonization process. The accounts collected showed the consistency of a holy life, lived in humility and silence. Brother Crispin had transformed the simplest tasks into offerings pleasing to God. In 1900, Pope Leo XIII declared him blessed, recognizing his virtues and miracles. And on 20th of June 1982, St. John Paul II canonized him officially, presenting him as an example to the entire world. During the canonization ceremony, the Pope highlighted Brother Crispin's Franciscan joy, his fidelity to a humble vocation, and his tireless charity toward the poor. The Church saw in that simple brother a true hero of hidden holiness, so necessary in our times when so many forget that sanctity is within everyone's reach. Brother Crispin's death was not the end, but the beginning of an even greater mission. Now, interceding in heaven, he continues to help all who call upon his powerful aid. The spirituality of Saint Crispin of Viterbo is a luminous testimony to the holiness that springs from simplicity. His life reveals that one can reach heaven by washing dishes, begging alms, or sweeping the floor, provided everything is done for love of God. His humility was genuine and constant. He never considered himself important, even when surrounded by the admiration of many. He often repeated, "I am only a poor friar, nothing more." He centered his life on God's presence. He said that even amid the noise of the city and the duties of the convent, his soul remained united to the Lord. For him, every gesture was a living prayer. His love for the Eucharist was fervent. When he received communion, his eyes filled with tears and he remained in prolonged adoration, as if the whole world had disappeared. Devotion to Our Lady was inseparable from his spiritual identity. He always had a rosary in his hands and advised the faithful, "Whoever loves the Mother of God will never be lost." Brother Crispin also cultivated a holy sense of humor. He liked to joke with children and tell stories with messages of faith and morality. He was a joyful saint, the reflection of a heart at peace with God. His interior life was rich in prayer, penance, and surrender. Even in moments of fatigue or illness, he did not cease praying. He said, "It is better to die praying than to live without praying." Various miracles were attributed to his intercession, especially healings of serious diseases, sudden conversions, and profound spiritual graces. Many affirmed having seen visions or felt his protective presence. One of the best-known cures occurred with a sterile woman who, after praying at St. Crispin's tomb, conceived and gave birth to a healthy child. This testimony spread rapidly throughout Italy. There are also reports of people who, in despair, upon invoking St. Crispin, found immediate consolation and unexpected solutions to their family or spiritual problems. His body remained incorrupt for many years after his death, which further increased popular devotion. It was an evident sign of the purity and holiness that had dwelt within him. During the canonization process, The Church carefully examined dozens of miracles attributed to him, in addition to thoroughly studying his writings and the testimonies about his life. St. John Paul II, upon canonizing him, said, "Saint Crispin of Viterbo is a beacon for all who wish to serve God in simplicity. He reminds us that the greatness of a Christian lies in living the gospel with love." Devotion to Saint Crispin spread beyond Italy. In Brazil, in some Franciscan communities, he is remembered as an example of a holy lay brother and a model of evangelical humility. In families, he is invoked as an intercessor for domestic peace, reconciliation, and harmony between parents and children. Many parents pray to him, asking that their children grow in faith and purity. In parishes, especially among Capuchin friars, his feast is solemnly celebrated on 21st May, with processions, masses, and moments of adoration. His example is also used to inspire religious vocations, especially among those who wish to live consecrated life as brothers rather than priests. He shows the beauty of that vocation. Moreover, he is patron of almoners and humble workers. His figure is associated with Christian social justice, not by ideology, but through his concrete love for the poor. In times of spiritual crisis, Saint Crispin reminds us that it is possible to be holy without worldly glories, simply by doing with love what God entrusts to us each day. His legacy remains alive in Capuchin convents, in Christian families, and in communities where his memory is cherished with affection and faith. His story inspires books, films, sermons, and spiritual retreats. He is presented as a contemporary model, especially for a world thirsty for authenticity and coherence of life. Saint Crispin of Viterbo teaches us that it is not necessary to ascend the world's altars to be great. Rather, one must descend to the ground of humility and service, where Christ hides in our brothers. In a world marked by superficiality, he teaches us the depth of interior life. Amid noise, he teaches silence. In the midst of haste, he reminds us of eternity. By canonizing him, the Church proposed a new path: hidden holiness, faithful love, silent charity that transforms the world with the power of goodness. May Saint Crispin of Viterbo intercede for us, so that we too may be faithful in little things, generous in sacrifices, and joyful in the vocation God gives us. His name will always be remembered as that of the smiling, poor, faithful brother and friend of God, who made his life a hymn of love, humility, and hope.